How you doing, Patty?
Doing well, Ben.
All right.
Thank you.
How long have you been at DTM?
A little over a year,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
surprisingly.
Well, can you tell us a little of the story, how you got involved with Toastmasters? What got you started on all this?
An email from my manager to our team came out talking about that a Toastmasters club was going to be starting at our location here in Colorado Springs. I didn't know what Toastmasters was, but leadership opportunities was listed in that email. And I was not getting many of those in my current position at the time, and really wanted to advance in my career and with my job. So I started going to the planning meetings that were already well underway, and that is how I initially got started and became a charter member of our corporate club, Peak Articulators.
And that so those planning meetings were just for putting together the club.
Yes, they already had applied for the charter, but they were now trying to get everything organized. And they asked me if I wanted to be our interim VP of education. I had no idea what that meant, but I was here for leadership opportunities. So I said yes. And that was a job in itself, which was an amazing leadership opportunity for me.
Where's that lead you to? So it sounds like you got into the club and you had leadership opportunities straight off the bat. Has that led to greater leadership opportunities and roles other than, obviously it has in Toastmasters? Has it led to greater opportunities and roles outside of Toastmasters?
Well, of course. I actually, after a few years of participating in our club, I mean, giving the speeches, becoming officer roles, I pretty much tried to do whatever officer role I could in that time period. And after a few years, I got a promotion in my job, which led to more opportunities for leadership within my role at my company. So I was very excited, and I have Toastmasters to thank for providing me those opportunities and giving me the confidence to, you know, use my Toastmasters leadership opportunities as experiences for my manager to see that I was capable of being a leader.
Was that around 2013 or so when they first started putting the club together, or was it a little before, a little after that?
We were charted in April of 2013. Yes.
2013. I remember
Yep.
things going around, but I was on the service desk still at that time, and you could absolutely join and participate, but you had to do it on your own time. They weren't going to support you in it particularly.
Yep.
Have you been a member of the club ever since then? Have you been an active member of the club, I guess I'd say, ever since then?
Pretty much straight through the last just over 9 years now. I've been an officer most of the time. I did take a little hiatus to allow other people the leadership opportunity. And I have been like making sure that I've participated in our sessions on a regular basis, as well as working my projects, especially the last few years before achieving the DTM status.
Well, you're DTM. You've been with Toastmasters for 9 years, and you've probably got a few good speaking tips for the rest of us. What are your thoughts on what are the best strategies or techniques you use to success in speaking?
Well, one of the easiest tips I have is practice your speech out loud. Just actually doing it once or twice will help you hear what you're actually saying, and you can craft it to actually say what you actually want to mean if you say it out loud. Because sometimes what you're thinking in your head doesn't always come out of your mouth the way it should or the way you want it to come across. So that would be one of them. The
Absolutely.
second, Yes.
That's a very interesting thing. I've read a little about that recently, and apparently it's different parts of the brain that are activated when you're just thinking as opposed to when you're speaking something out loud. So it not only reinforces it more completely when you speak it out loud, but as you were saying, it's a totally different thing now. It's something you can actually hear what you're trying to say. You might have to go through it a few times to put it the way you really want it to sound. So speaking it out loud is absolutely a very powerful thing to do. To be fair, I've spoken to myself in the mirror quite a bit since joining Toastmasters, and I probably look like a crazy person, but it helps me clear up my thoughts, and I'll take it.
Yeah, another one that leads into is
Mhm.
actually recording yourself. Just take your phone and set it over across the way and record yourself doing it, but not just recording it. You want to do three things after you've recorded it. You want to watch it just like a normal video, and that's going to give you the big picture. But then you also want to watch it with the sound turned off, because that's going to show you what your body's doing. And if you're wailing your arms around, people are going to notice that more than listen to you. And you can start understanding where you can use the right gesture at the right moment. And then the third one is just listen to yourself without watching the video, because that's going to really tell you a few things. It's going to really make you listen to what you're saying. And it's also going to say, are you monotone, or are you getting excited or talking slower when appropriate? Lower, slower. Get that vocal variety going, because that really can add interest to what you're saying. So, tape yourself and watch it, listen to it.
That's an interesting one as well. It's like there's a lot you can pick up just on physical movement. And if you take all the things that would distract you from the physical movement out and just watch the physical movement, you kind of learn that piece. And then the same thing with the vocal tonal piece. You can learn more about your tone and the actual words spoken when you're not paying attention to the movement. You're just getting the auditory portion of it. So
Yeah, and I have to give credit to a presentation class that I was referred to. It was pretty much in the first year I was a Toastmaster, but a manager referred me to that class, and they did that, and I just found it so powerful, especially when you're starting out just speaking. It really does help you understand what your strengths are and your opportunities when you are speaking.
I've definitely done some recording myself and watching what I'm doing, but the breaking it down to just the video portion versus audio portion, I've definitely not done that. So I'll have to play with that.
It's crazy what it brings to the picture.
Right on. The next thing I'd like to ask you about first off, how long did it take you to get your DTM?
It took me 8 years, just over 8 years to get it. But it was because I was in for leadership opportunities and getting my promotion, and that was it.
Mhm.
People showed me the DTM track. I really didn't want to do that. That was, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to be a district officer. I'm not going to do anything outside my company club.
Mhm.
So that changed though.
What would you suggest to someone who was looking to get their DTM or otherwise do bigger than just club opportunities, district opportunities, or anything else?
Well, the first thing is really understand why you want to be a DTM. If it's because someone said, "Oh, you should get your DTM," and you're really not into it at the time,
Mhm.
you're not going to put your heart into it. And if you don't put your heart into it, you're not really going to get a lot out of all the activities that you have the privilege to do on the journey to the DTM. And I say that because I have seen people just whiz through projects, whiz through levels, just be an area director just to do the minimum work. And you don't get a lot out of it. So I really want you to think, why do you want to be a DTM? And think about that. Uh, The next thing is plan it out.
Mhm.
Because, like I said, I think the first 4 years, I didn't want to be a DTM. That was far from my sights. I
Mhm.
did, though, find out about being an area director, and that just intrigued me. And I really didn't use that as a DTM stepping stone when I became an area director. I
Mhm.
just wanted to help clubs. I wanted to learn from clubs. I wanted to help other clubs learn from other clubs. And that's why I became an area director. And it wasn't until after that that I started looking and saying, oh, this is one of the things I can do on a path to a DTM. Maybe I should look into it. Well, I did, but I didn't plan anything out until uh, the last 2 years before I got my DTM. And then it's like, oh, I need to do this, 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 and this. And some of them took time, like being a club coach. So I had to plan that and try to do that. And once again, I didn't become a coach to get my DTM. I did it because one of the clubs in my area that I was an area director needed help. And I love helping people. And I took that step. And all of a sudden, I needed to plan out the rest to actually reach the DTM level.
There was some time when I was in my 20s and early 30s. I was training in karate fairly regularly. And I noticed looking back that there was always the thing at the next belt that looked like a really cool and interesting thing. Oh, that's going to be good. If I could learn that, that would be great. And it was still fun. I had a lot of great memories from there. So I don't regret it much. But if I had it to do it again, the thing that I think I would change is I would try to do what you're saying is make sure you're getting something out of what you're doing currently. Nothing wrong with looking ahead, but you got to make sure you're making the most of this moment and what you're doing now as well. And that's one thing I've tried to do with Toastmasters is make sure when I've got a project, I don't just get through it, particularly if it's a project I'm curious about, take the time to get everything I want to get out of it rather than just, knock it out and hopefully get my next level or eventually get my DTM or whatever else it is. So that one
Yeah.
definitely resonates for me.
And if you look at it, some of the requirements, like being a district officer, that's a year commitment.
Yes.
And if you are really set on getting your DTM, you need to start looking. I need to be a district officer. That's going to take a year.
Mhm.
If you want to be a club mentor or coach or sponsor, some of those you can do while being an area director, but some you have to wait. And they want you not to be an area director at the same time, or they prefer you not to be. So that might be another year, as is the case for a club coach.
Right.
So you have to start looking, what do I want to do? What pieces towards the DTM do I want to do? And what's the time frame? And that's why planning is really important.
Plan it out. Yeah.
And another thing is, if you don't know your district officers,
Mhm.
they're the ones that can give you a lot of those opportunities or steer you in the right direction for how to become a club sponsor or a mentor or a coach. They can help you find the clubs that need mentors or coaches. So it's like, get to know them. If there's in-person conferences, go to them, get to know them. As you become a district officer yourself to fulfill that requirement, then you'll start getting to know them. But make sure you start asking them questions, about being a club coach. What do you have to do? About being a mentor, about the speech craft program or the youth leadership. All those things you can find out through your district officers, and they can help you.
Right. That's one thing I would have liked to have done a little more of. I'm, helping out at the district level now, and I'm starting to learn a lot of things I know very little about because I just didn't really pay much attention. I was aware that the district put on the TLIs and, some other things, the competition. So I was somewhat aware, but, not really more than the necessary minimum just to do those things. So anybody I'd encourage, you don't necessarily have to get involved if that's not what you want to do, but definitely being aware of what's there. And there's a lot of assistance available there too. The very things we're talking about, trainings for roles for clubs, officers of clubs, and also a variety of things, including, coaching, speech crafts, a variety of things go on at the district level. So there's a lot to know about and to learn about. And again, if you're not really interested in any of it, just being aware it's there is very valuable.
Yeah, and sometimes just that awareness can help you think, hey, maybe I want to do this. And it might not even be towards a DTM, it might be your interest in helping out. There's always helping opportunities.
Right.
And who knows where that'll lead? Maybe it'll spark you like it did me, saying, oh, the DTM is within reach. I thought it was something that would be impossible. So I didn't even want to go there. And being an introvert myself, I didn't want to go there either for that reason, because I'd have to talk to people. And that got me out of my shell and talking with people and starting to feel, hey, all these things that I'm doing just to get the experiences can add up and do something good for myself in my development as a leader and a communicator.
Right. Well, now my favorite portion of these things is to ask you about your favorite thing in the whole world, or at least your favorite thing in the whole world right now that you're willing to share with us.
I have a plethora of activities I love to do, but it's not really the activities, it's my friends that I do them with.
Mhm.
So I have to say that my friends are my passion right now. They really helped me through COVID, especially during the lockdowns where we would have happy hour on Teams or just gatherings where we could talk on Teams. That's when you could not do anything but go to the grocery store or the hospital for the most part. And that kept me going and kept me connected with people. And after that, golfing opened up. So I went out with my golf friends and we could golf outside and talk and be together. But all my friends, and you really got to know who your friends were and the ones you really wanted to stay connected with at that point. And the ones I kept and built during that time are just my passion. We don't just do sporting activities, we also do social events and get togethers, just any type of activities during the day or in the evening. And it's just kept me going. I could talk about them. They're the greatest people. We all have those in our lives, but I really appreciate them because I love my husband to death, but I need some other friends to be with. And they have come through for me and I've come through for them, and it's been great. And I wouldn't do anything without them, or I don't know where I'd be without them.
Have you noticed any of the training in Toastmasters transferring over just to day-to-day communications and, like, say, conversing with your friends or maybe with family members, situations like that?
I am finding that clarity, being clear on the information you're providing or what you're giving to other people is very important, because we still use a lot of texting. And if you're not clear, things can kind of blow up and get out of hand. An example is I sent my female friends saying, hey, we're going on a boat and we'd like to invite you along. Next thing I know, a boyfriend is in the picture, a husband. It's like, well, okay, I didn't say, hey, ladies, we would like to invite you ladies to the boat. So we had more people than expected. It was fun, it was fine, but you really do need to make sure you're clear on how you're communicating things, especially with text in these days that we do a lot of texting or emails. Just and Toastmasters made me think, I can't blame the other person. It was me. I wasn't clear. And, it was not a big deal to have other people along, but I could have been more clear. And I realized that, and I will do better next time. And that's, I think, totally attributed to Toastmasters and wanting to better myself in my communication.
It's amazing how much gets left out of texts and emails, just how you would think it would be very cut and dried because it's just words and like, how are you going to misinterpret? But so much of communication comes through tone and body language, and emojis are nice, but they don't quite make up for everything that's cut out of communication that's just text. So I definitely hear that one.
Yeah, it just makes you more aware, Toastmasters does, on what you're saying and how you're saying it. I mean, we see that in table topics every meeting.
The chance to speak extemporaneously is really powerful. Just a moment to give a thought, something that's more of a complete thought than yes, no, or this thing, just the one word or one sentence response, but something that has to be contained within a minute to 2.5 minutes. It's a really interesting exercise, and you get to do that at virtually every Toastmasters meeting. That's one of the most powerful things, I think. I know as Toastmasters, a lot of Toastmasters occasionally get bored of them, but I try to remind myself just how powerful that is and make sure I'm getting those in as often as I can, because there's a lot you gain out of that. Just thinking on the fly, coming up with an answer that's, again, more complete than what you might normally give, but also doesn't run on for days, weeks, or years. A lot of power in table topics.
Yeah. Yes, there is. We use them every day.
We do. Any final thoughts, Patty?
No, I just want to say getting your DTM is a journey, and you should enjoy every aspect of it. Every project you do, every training, whether it's speechcraft or youth leadership or whatever district office, try to do it to the fullest. Try to be the best you can be and learn the most you can from those opportunities or the projects. Because it is a journey and it's a growth journey. And don't just buzz through them thinking, hey, I just have to get it done. Learn what you can. And you'll be surprised at how much you grow and learn from those. So that would be my biggest tip of all, is enjoy the journey.
Patty, thank you very much for your time. It was good talking to you.
It was good talking to you. I hope I did you justice.
Oh, this was good. This was solid. Thank you.
Okay. Well, you have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.